Hello again, EDF friends. Welcome back to our firing range where we're testing all the weapons for each class. This time we're going to continue along Wing Diver, and this time we're on the weapons that are the Thunderbow Iduns and the plasma weapons this time around. There's been some big changes in this area as well. And let's start off with the Thunderbow and the Idun, the best ones here. As you can see, they're still the size of her, or actually larger than her. So they must be made out of styrofoam. So let's go ahead and take both of these out. The damage this time around is actually, I don't know, I would say a little bit below average compared to the previous game in my opinion. But there's some big changes as far as the energy cost. In the previous games, the Thunderbow was something I never used actually, because when you reload it, it took about 60 or 70% of your magazine, or your energy rather, to refill it, to reload it. And just from my experience, it's very difficult to just go ahead and take 70% of your energy and just get rid of it. While you're trying to survive, and because usually this game involves kiting around, so I hardly ever used it for that reason. And the Idun as well, it costed quite a bit of energy. I think it was about 50 or 60%. It's been so long now I don't remember, but I know it was around 50 or 60, I think. And once again, it was very strong, but I never took it because of the energy cost. I actually preferred the laser or the lance because it was lower energy. This time around, they're actually very low energy. I believe her best energy tank is about 1800, 1700 total. So as you can see here, the Thunderbow is only 84 energy out of the 1800, and then the Idun is about 150, I think, maxed out, somewhere around there. And let's see, 137 actually looks like it's maxed out. So very low energy compared to the actual energy tank, but it also, the damage is a little bit lower around this time as well. But let's go ahead and show what these look like here first. Let's do different mission. Let's do this one. This time around, the Thunderbow is still very long range. Also, another problem with the previous Thunderbow in the past was it was like a shotgun, and it had close to a 600 meter range. So therefore, if you just shot it, you would wind up pulling the whole map for the most part, which in Inferno you usually didn't want to do that. You wanted to be more specific on what you attack, because pulling the whole map usually wound up killing everybody in your party, including yourself. But this time around, the Thunderbow right here is just one shot. So instead of having a magazine, it just has one shot. And also, depending on how long you charge it, it'll also affect its accuracy. So this thing can be very accurate if you charge it all the way up. So let me go ahead and charge this thing all the way up, and let me go ahead and aim at that building over there. And as you can see, it becomes one beam. It still bounces, of course, but becomes one beam. So it almost becomes a sniper that has, let's see what the range. The range is 400. No, the range is, sorry. The range is 560 meters. So it's like a 560 meter range sniper. And if you want to spread it out a little bit more, you can actually charge it, partial way, and it becomes more like a shotgun shot. The faster you pull the trigger, the wider the spread it is. However, also to counter that, because you could just keep shooting pulling the trigger like that, it doesn't do the same damage. It's reflective of how much energy you use to charge it. So half energy, half the damage. Full energy does full damage. So the DPS for the Thunderbow is about, let's see, it's about 3.5k DPS. So it's not the greatest damage, but like I said, it's more versatile, I think, and I really like it this time around because, you can reload it, or you can use it while you're flying around, and you don't have to worry about energy as much because it's such a quick, cheap, shot. So the damage is a little bit lower than average, but I think it makes up for it in the fact that it's more versatile and more useful. Now the Idun as well is very different. It's a charge weapon now, so you have to charge it up to fire it. But But now, once you start firing its normal idun, but once it starts shooting down the magazine, you'll see that it becomes more inaccurate until the very end, or it becomes very inaccurate. So that's quite a bit difference. I mean, I would say it's pretty noticeable around like the 100. You know, when it's 100 energy left, or about 75 of the magazine left, it's pretty wide and not very useful. You can just reload it and just choose to charge it up again, but it's not bad as far as energy cost. It's only 150, so that's really not very much out of your whole magazine. The damage per second is about 4.3k DPS maxed out, and so like I said, it's a little bit lower damage than the previous game, and but also the energy cost is quite a bit lower, so it kind of makes up for it. So it's definitely a more useful weapon, and I would say it's probably it's better than the laser because it doesn't lose damage over time, it just loses accuracy. So it's got good range. Unfortunately, when you dash, it does cancel your shot, but having it has a 300 meter range, so it's not bad range as well. So I would say it's probably definitely outclasses the machine gun. Let's go ahead and use this on an enemy really quick. Like for the Thunderbolt, for example, you actually can, you know, pull enemy pretty accurately this time around. Looks like I hit one. You know, it's not the strongest thing, but it is something you can spam the shot pretty fast and shoot it relatively fast. Not too bad. So I definitely find myself wanting to use the Thunderbolt a lot more often. And like I said in the past, it's just unfortunate with the lance, the burst, or not the burst lance, but the what's it called, the Dragoon Tri-Lance. It's unfortunate for that weapon because that weapon is so strong compared to everything else. I don't see as much variety online when I'm playing with people on Inferno because, you know, there's something that's so much better than everything else, and that's why I hate it. Like if other weapons were balanced to in similar balance to the Tri-Lance, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But because it's so much better, it's unfortunate. It's almost like the problem with the Fencer in 4.1 all over again, where there's just one go-to, and that's the Catapult and the Blastal Spear, because of how strong it is and how much better it is than everything else. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but I still plan on using more variety of weapons. So yeah, so the Idun can no longer be charged in the background. You have to charge it up before you fire it, so it can't be like the infinite stun lock it was before. It takes a couple seconds to charge it. So like underground, you can't just, you know, switch to another Idun and start firing while the other one's reloading and then switch back and forth and be a constant stun lock. But I would say that's not a huge deal. Let's move on to the last two. There's not too many in this column actually. Alright, the next one is the E-Clat, at least that's what it was called in the previous game. It's back. It has a magazine this time. It's very accurate. It's got a decent range, a 200 meter range, and the damage isn't bad. The damage is roughly about 6k DPS, and like I said, 200 meter range. Let's go ahead and grab one of those. And then also there's another Thunderbow that's available, which is it's a horizontal pattern. Instead of coming to one point, it actually comes to like a wide fan pattern, which I'll show here. So let's go ahead and get started on this. This is more of if you don't want a sniper type Thunderbow, you want more of like a crowd control Thunderbow for like a large swarm of enemies charging you. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do the E-Clat thing here first. I like this because it has a magazine. It's got a decent sized magazine. Mine's not maxed out, but I believe I would assume it's somewhere around 20. I don't know the exact number when it's maxed out, but shoots about 1 a second, and like I said, 6k a shot, so it's not too bad. And the reload is a little bit high, but it's not terrible considering how many shots you have. So It's not a bad weapon. The lower versions have a lower range, such as like a 100-meter range, I believe, for the lower ones, but it's not a terrible weapon. It's definitely a different weapon. This, and then here's the other Thunderbow, where if you charge it up all the way, it becomes like a fan pattern along the ground, where it just shoots like a horizontal line. So more for ground enemies. I would say I still prefer the point one better, because if I want to get all my damage onto one point, I prefer that, and then just do like a half charge if I want to do more of a crowd control. But you won't get full damage, like I said, if you do half charge. So, but it's something different, something interesting. So you have two options for your Thunderbow, and then this weapon. I really don't mind this weapon, honestly. I like having weapons with a magazine, honestly. So it is nice to have a weapon with a magazine. Like I said, it is decent damage per second. So it's just you're limited to about 200 meters on this one. So pretty cool, pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and go back here. I believe that is everything underneath this column as far as the medium range weapons here. Just lower level versions of each of them. Let's see. This E-Clat's maxed out at 100 meters. And this one's 140 meters. Some shoot faster, some shoot slower. This one's 6.7 shots per second. This is a really slow one. Of course, I don't have it maxed out, but this one is 0.95. So the damage per second can go up. But mine's about 6K. So yeah, decent variety. I'd say that overall I'm happy with the changes, and I think I'll be using them more often because the energy cost is so low. And even this weapon, which I never used before, because in the previous games it was just a one shot and then it reloaded, and it costed too much energy in my opinion. So now I'm actually use this because it has a magazine. Alright, now onto the plasma weapons. She has some really cool plasma weapons, and they are definitely different this time around as well. And this time and what's changed is you charge them up now before you shoot them. So that's very different. This one is just your standard machine gun. It shoots just one shot like a machine gun straight out. Let me go ahead and take one of those, and then she has a new weapon type in this column, and that would be her shotgun, which is absolutely ridiculous. Very cool weapon. I'm so glad that they added this to the game. Has 100 projectiles, and it does ridiculous damage. And by the way, these weapons all have splash damage as well. Like for example, this one has a 14. Let's see, maxed out. Maxed out, I'm not sure. I don't have the exact number, but I'm assuming it's around 20 meters blast. And then this one, the shotgun, has about a 9-meter blast maxed out. So let's take one of each of these. I guess the way they've made the plasma machine guns is, I guess you'd view it as whatever level you're taking, it pretty much consumes about 75–80% of your magazine to charge it up fully. But the thing is, you don't have to charge it up fully. You could just, charge it a little bit and use it. But if you want to charge it up all the way, you're probably going to take up most of your energy. My energy tank isn't maxed out, so it took quite a bit, but it would probably take about 75%. But it does shoot a long time, as you can see. Very long time. So it's almost like, how much do you need at the moment? Do you need the whole charge? You need half the charge? But as you can see, very long time. They did improve flying in the air with these things now. As you can see, it shoots relatively straight when you're flying, whereas before it would shoot in like strange directions before when you were trying to fly. So I mean, it's still a little bit. It still affects a little bit where you're trying to aim, but it's definitely a lot better than it was before. So and the damage per second on this is about 3,000 damage per second, and then like I said, it has a close to 20-meter blast. So it's almost like it could be crowd control in some respect because of the blast radius, but the damage per second is a little bit lower than I was hoping. The range isn't bad either. It's about 300-meter range for this thing. And about 1100 energy maxed out, I'm thinking, somewhere around there. So definitely interesting. I think it's more useful this time around, but I don't know how often I would use it, honestly, because of how low the damage is. And then we have the shotgun, which is absolutely ridiculous. This thing has a 480 meter range. It does 12,600 damage a second DPS, maxed out, and it's very low energy cost. It's about 137 energy maxed out, so very low, and it shoots 100 projectiles. So just absolutely ridiculous for a 12,000 damage shotgun shot. It doesn't penetrate through enemies like rangers, but still, regardless, it's very cool. And you can shoot it relatively straight with when you're flying. It's a little bit different. Like, angle's a little bit weird when you're in the air, but it's not terrible at all. So I really find using this thing a lot, especially underground. But just in general, it can be very good if you don't need to worry too much about kiting the whole time. I mean, it's still not terrible damage, but it wouldn't be your main weapon if you're flying around the whole time. As you can see, the range is just ridiculous too. It's great on, great on wasps, great on drones. Very cool weapon. All right, let's go ahead and go back to the. All right, on to the next one. The different, like the 10-way, the 9-way, so forth. Those have made it back. Once again, it takes up about 75–80% of your magazine to charge it up. It's not the greatest DPS. This one's only about, I mean, it's only level 79, but it's only about 2.7k DPS. But it shoots in like a fan pattern, which I'll show that. And then let's see. And then here's another one. It's like a shotgun. Let me show this one as well. I wish the damage was a little bit higher on these, honestly, to be viable on Inferno, but let's go ahead and charge this up. Doesn't take quite as much energy, but to charge it up. But of course, I have a high level energy tank though too. But it shoots a long time, as you can see. Very long time. These things shoot forever, so that's kind of cool. I do like that. It's probably more if you're going to be on the ground, I would say, fighting. And to be fair, you can be a ground fighter as a wing diver now, which I'll be covering later in another video. But so pretty cool. When you fly, it does affect the flying a little bit when you're aiming, but it's not terrible. Like I said, they did improve it, but it is kind of weird how it goes up and down a little bit in the air when you fly up and down. And then here's another pattern of her charge shot, which is like a shotgun. So it's more of like the I forgot what it was called in 4.1, but there was like a shotgun that would stun enemies. This time all of her energy weapons stun enemies, but yeah, pretty interesting. It shoots a long time as well. The DPS on this is 2.2k, but also it's level 77. Just keep that in mind. The range on the other one was 200 meters. This one is 240 meters, and the blast is 6.8 on this one, and the blast on the 10-way is 4 meters, so it's smaller blast. And also, something to keep in mind, when you have any of these charge weapons and plasma weapons, and you can fly with them, but if you dash, it cancels it. And the negative thing of canceling one of these charge weapons is you don't get your energy back for canceling it. So like say you charge up all the way, start shooting, and then reload. Just because you reload to cancel it to change weapons, it doesn't mean you get your energy back, unfortunately. So you have to keep in mind that. And if you get knocked down as well, like if you get knocked down, you're fighting, you get knocked down by a pill bug or by an explosion, you'll lose all that energy that you charged up. So something to keep in mind. Alright, and then let's go back, and there's only one more weapon left to show. It's not too much different, but it is different enough to show. There is like a 9-way, there's an 8-way, you know, as you go down the chain, but level 50 is the last weapon I wanted to show. And this weapon is pretty much the same thing as the machine gun ones, but it shoots twice as fast. It's almost like a minigun. So the range is 270 meters, so it's not bad. But it shoots really fast. So not too much different, but just figure I'd show it because it is a little bit different, and it does look different too visually. The weapon doesn't last as long, of course, when you're shooting it. It's almost it's 1.4k DPS, but it's level 50 though to keep in mind. But yeah, and if you dash, you cancel it. So overall, I would say as far as this column, I'm happy with the changes. They made the E-Clat actually useful this time because it has a magazine and it's decent damage. They made the Idun and the Thunderbow useful because of how low energy they cost, and also the Thunderbow is more pointed into one point, so you don't have to worry about pulling the whole map. So very happy with those changes. And this column, it's an improvement. I would say it's definitely an improvement. It's still high energy to use these weapons, but they last a really long time, and they have a splash damage now, and so I think there's improvements in this area. And then the shotgun, of course, is just a very useful weapon, and I'm very happy they added this to her arsenal. So overall, I think improvements in both columns. I'm pretty happy. So I'll be covering the sniper rifles and the special weapons, or not the sniper rifles and the grenade launchers and grenades next time. Once again, a lot of changes, so I feel like she's a whole new class, and that's why I'm happy about this, because I feel like it's a completely new class to explore, so pretty fun. So once again, thanks a lot for watching, and hope to see you on the next video.